Alright, welcome to round 5 of the Pitskill GT3 Open Championship. This time we are at Bathurst, and if you're not familiar with this track, it is very sketchy. Very fun, but very sketchy. There are walls everywhere, it's very narrow and tight. Very easy to make a mistake, especially when you're battling with people, so you know this one's going to be pretty chaotic. But as usual, before we start the race, I'll quickly go through the top 10 qualifiers so you know who's who. So, qualifying in P1, kind of. I'll get to that in a second. But for now, in P1 is Czech. I think this is only the second round in this series that he's done. In P2, we have a newcomer to this series. It is Labuz. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but yeah, he is in P2. In P3, we have Sergei Sebastian, and this is actually the first race in this series he's done as well. He's a regular in Pitskill, one of the fastest guys there, but yeah, he hasn't managed to do any of the previous rounds in this series. Qualifying in 4th is Balazs, and he is continuing his trend of making a custom livery for each race, or each track, sorry. So yeah, this time we've got the Bathurst livery. In P5, we have Feist in the Aston Martin. He's only done one previous round in this series, but he did finish second there. So we're expecting him to do pretty well today too. And then we've got Alexandra, not sure how you pronounce it again. But unfortunately, he disconnects after like half a lap. So you're not going to see much of him, I'm afraid. And then in P7, we have Fredriksson, who is currently leading the championship. So again, you would expect him to do pretty well here today too. And then in P8, we have Hull in probably my favourite livery of the lot, I think. And last time out at Zandvoort, he finished in 2nd place, so we'll see if he can repeat that today. Then we've got Roland Schricker returning in P9. He did one or two of the previous rounds and finished pretty well in those, but then has missed the last few rounds. And then the final place in the top 10 goes to Salanaho in the Mustang, who actually won Split 2 at the last round, but this is the first time we've seen him in Split 1. Now, I mentioned at the start that Czech wasn't actually really P1, and that's because this guy, Chris Warner, qualified in 1st position, by quite some margin, I think. But then he had a disconnect between qualifying and the race, which forces you to start from the back. Now, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it was actually a technical issue, because you're not allowed to intentionally start from the back and try and do the whole last to first challenge thing. But regardless, we'll see how many positions he can gain from all the way back here. So we are about to go green and head down to turn 1. There is the green flag, and we see everyone go side by side. P1 and P2 very close together. Sergei Sebastian going to nip up the inside and move up from P3 to P2, it looks like here. We'll see if everybody else can make it cleanly through the first corner. I think they did. Didn't seem to be any major incidents there. See everybody fanning out across the track. Labuz is tucked right in behind the back of Sergei Sebastian, but yeah, he's lost a position there. Gone from P2 to P3 straight away. See the Mustang of Balazs trying to go around the outside of this second corner, but it very rarely works, although maybe in the chaos of the first lap. He is going to be on the inside of Feist, then he keeps his position. Everybody's slotting in single file, apart from Roland Schricker and Hull, as they go too wide through this very sketchy corner. And I think Roland Schricker going to gain a position there, he does. Now we come through the part of the track where you pretty much can't overtake, and everyone has to just stream through single file, bumper to bumper, and try not to hit any walls. That is the general strategy. As rather than hitting walls, we see them hitting each other. What happened there? That is a huge crash for Sergei Sebastian and Czech. We've actually also got an incident for Hull that happened just before that. We saw Hull lose the position and then loses the back end into the wall, spins around. A few other people touch him, but didn't look too bad for the rest of the grid. See it from another angle, you see Hull in the background there, spinning around, does collect Skapash actually. Skapash does a big 360, and then, gets just launched into the sky. Okay, I take it back, it was quite bad for the rest of the grid, it turns out. But now let's look at the incident that I was trying to find between P1 and P2. We see Czech has a little wiggle up ahead, Sergei looks to the inside. Oh yeah, that's a tough one. It kind of looked like Czech jinked to the side a little bit just as Sergei went for it, but it's not a good place to overtake anyway. Now, one person that did well out of this was Roland Schricker. He went for a bit of a dive here against Hull. We saw the end of this overtake earlier. We're going to come into the Audi corner. I don't know what the official corner name is. We just call it Audi because of all the Audi signs everywhere. Goes around the outside, nearly loses the rear end. Does well to hold on to that, keep it out of the wall, and also complete the overtake. So that was pretty nicely done. And then he's going to come up to the absolute chaos that we saw a minute ago. We'll see what it looks like from his point of view. There's going to be cars splattered all over the place here. Yeah, there's Czech. There's Sergei Sebastian. And he manages to nip past Fredriksson by just being a little bit less cautious than Fredriksson was, which, sometimes works out, sometimes doesn't. But in this case, yeah, being brave there, gained him another position. And the final replay I want to take a look at from the start before we go back to live is Chris Warner's start. He was dead last. He's already gained 2 positions there into T1. I guess this is going to be a third position gained on this Porsche to the left. And we'll speed things up as we run down to the second corner. It's quite a long wait otherwise. So coming into T2, he's got a whole gang of cars ahead of him. There's another position gained instantly. And another one on the left here, I think, from the Ferrari. I think that's Cook. He's not quite completed this overtake yet. I think he's going to go around the outside, potentially around the outside of 2 cars here. There's going to be another position gain. Yep, so that's what, like 6 or 7 positions gained already in the first few corners. But let's see how he handles the chaos that happened up ahead, because he's going to come up to a lot more. Yeah, there's already one dead car. Yeah, you can see cars in the sky. And he plays it very sensibly and very cautiously. Comes to a complete stop there, which, you know, people don't like to do. People like to just stay flat out when there's a yellow flag, or at least just half lift. But he came to a complete stop, and it works out because he doesn't get any damage. Picks up all the places that he lost by slowing down, because everyone else is dead. So yeah, nicely done. Okay, we are finally back to the live action, and we see Ballage has actually inherited the lead. We'll take a look at what's going on up there in a second, but for now I want to focus on Fredriksson and Schricker. We saw Schricker nip past by just being brave when there was all the drama, but now it looks like Fredriksson is going to get this place back fairly easily. So yeah, he's back up into P4, and Roland Schricker now finds himself under attack from the Mustang of Salanaho. And the Mustangs, as I will mention in every single video, are very fast on the straights, but going around the outside here is not going to work, and they make contact before the corner. You do well to both survive that, to be honest. Let's have another look at that and see who squeezed who, what happened there. I think that is probably on Schricker, just not leaving quite enough room. See from Salanaho's point of view, he's right over on the left-hand side of the track. Yeah, I think that's on Schricker. Again, lucky to both survive that, because I've seen the same thing happen, but both cars end up in the wall. Now we're back with Chris Warner, who we saw make up a lot of positions on the first lap. And he's going to try and get past the Porsche of Nitro down the second of the very long straights with this fast right kink. Has a bit of a wiggle there, but does get past Nitro and up into P18. Now he's got to try and attack the Mustang of Barnes. And again, you would think, having qualified on pole like 3 seconds a lap faster than some of these guys, should be able to get past fairly easily. Let's see if he goes for a send here. He does, and Barnes gives him plenty of room. And yeah, that's another position gain pretty easily. If anyone's curious how my race is going, I am chasing down Ramsden. This is for P7, although Salanaho is not far ahead either. A little bit of a three-way train forming here. And we also have Ati Nemeth right behind me as well. And this part of the track is so much fun. I don't know if it comes across on video, but yeah, when you're driving it, it's so fun. Just weaving through here with all the walls everywhere. Tiniest mistake and you crash and die, which makes it even more fun. Speaking of crashing and dying, apparently, yeah, there was a bit of a moment here for 2 cars going into the wall. There's Davies, and we see Warner, who we were watching earlier, go past everyone. Is going to gain another position from that. Very nice opportunistic move, taking advantage of the mistake from Davies up ahead. We're going to stick with Warner here as he's catching up with Cook. And see how quickly you can get past some of these slightly faster drivers, because it's all very well and good getting past the guys at the back of the field. Shouldn't be too hard for him to make that look easy, but now that he's getting to some slightly faster drivers, we'll see if he's able to carve through them just as quickly, and it looks like he is. So that answers that question, straight past. Now he's got the Honda of Del Rio ahead. We'll try and find a way past through this mountain section, which pretty much impossible. We saw Sergei Sebastian try to do this earlier through that corner that we just went through, but he's actually going to get alongside here. I don't know if there was a mistake from Del Rio there. A bit of Honda on Honda action. The only 2 Hondas on the grid. But yeah, I don't know how he actually managed to make that happen there, to be honest. I guess Del Rio must have lifted to avoid hitting the wall. See Del Rio still all over the back of him now, though. He's now got Botello in the Mustang up ahead. And there's a long straight coming up, but we're not going to get that far because the Mustang goes sideways. And again, just nice opportunistic move there. Didn't take any crazy risk, but managed to take advantage of a small mistake from the guy up ahead. Let's see this from Del Rio's point of view, because I think he also managed to get past the Mustang. The Mustang going very sideways, does well to keep it out of the wall. Beautiful dive from Warner there, and yeah, Del Rio also nips past. This is on board with the Mustang driver, Botello. He does really well to not end up face first in that wall on the right hand side there, but yeah, then 1 Honda nips past, 2 Hondas, but there is a very long straight coming up, and we know what the Mustang is good at. We can also see Cook right in the rearview mirror there. But yeah, given how long this straight is, the Mustang might be able to actually claw some of this back, especially with the slipstream. He is gaining so much that he's actually going to be able to get alongside here into the chase. It's a very sketchy corner to go side by side through, but they managed to live to tell the tale. And Del Rio is going to keep the position. Has a big wiggle though, both left and right. And again, that's going to give the Mustang a chance. But we can see Cook still lurking in the background here, which is giving the Mustang something to think about. Can't really take the optimal line through here. And yeah, I think Cook's actually going to get a much better exit because of that. But again, Mustang straight line speed doesn't matter too much. That's crazy how much it gains on such a short straight. But the Ferrari does have better brakes. And Cook makes good use of that. You can see somebody else lurking behind as well now. Who is that? It is the Porsche of Davies. Is Botello going to lose another place here? Doesn't look like it because, again, long straight Mustang. He should be safe. Now, up at the front, we still have quite the battle going on here. Balaj obviously inherited P1 after the front guys took each other out. And he's doing well to hold on to it here after a few laps. We've got Feist right behind him, then Labuse in the Ferrari in P3. Fredriksson in P4, Roland Schricker in P5, and they are all pretty much bumper to bumper here. Luckily, Balaj in a Mustang won't have to worry about anyone overtaking him down this straight, but yeah, this could get interesting with all these fast guys so close together still. As they head into the final chicane, looks like Labuse is maybe the one gaining the most, although having said that, Feist is now right on the back of Balaj. Balaj going to have to go defensive into the final corner here. Is Feist going to try and hang it around the outside or just go for a bit of a cutback? I think the Mustang's ass was right in the way of where he wanted to go, so probably not going to be able to do anything about it just yet, but this is definitely spicing up. We see Fredriksson looking for a move as well on Labuse. They're all just nose to tail here. And Fredriksson, yeah, especially close to the back of that Ferrari. You can also see another little train in the background that I'm involved in. So yeah, two sort of separate 5-car trains here, which should lead to some interesting battles soon. You see Fredriksson getting nice and close, thinks about a little move here, going from side to side, but not going to be close enough just yet. We'll stick with this lead gang for a little while longer. We're right on board with Labuse as they're going to come into the skyline section with the sun kind of blinding you a bit, making a very difficult corner even more difficult. You can see Labuse getting very close to the back of Feist. Feist probably being slowed down a little by the big boaty Mustang up ahead, which belongs to Balaj. And Labuse gets real close and personal with the back of Feist's Aston Martin there. But now we're going to come on to this back straight. And Balaj will obviously clear off up ahead, but maybe the guys behind could make something happen. I think Fredriksson looking like the closest one out of this whole gang. Getting real close to the back of Labuse. It looks so slow from this angle, but this is such a fast part of the track. Yeah, Fredriksson real close to the back now. Again, they all close up on the Mustang during the corners, and Feist, I think, again is going to have a bit of a run on Balaj here. Balaj holding the inside line again, kind of sitting in the middle of the track actually, doesn't need to fully commit to the inside. And this time Feist does go for the cutback. This could be a change of the lead here. Feist well alongside, well, he's going to dropping back again because it's a short straight, but he's alongside enough to bully Balaj out onto the outside line. That's going to let Labuse come past as well. A little tap there for some reason. Luckily, no major damage or issue for anyone, as Fredriksson is also now trying to come past Balaj. But this is why I keep bringing up the Mustang straight line speed. Look at this. Look at this. He lost 2 places basically there. But because of the speed on the straight, he's going to manage to make it just be 1 place. I mean, it was potentially going to be 3 positions lost there. But yeah, damage limitation there for Balaj with the straight line speed. Manages to make it only 1 position lost. As we come towards the end of this lap, you can see Feist has already just checked out. Now he's got some clean air. But we've got to keep our eyes on Fredriksson and Labuse here, as Fredriksson has forced Labuse onto an inside line. Labuse seems to manage it well. No, I spoke too soon. He doesn't manage it well. He does not manage it well at all. He loses 2 positions there just from going a little deep. You can see that move from Fredriksson's point of view. So he's gaining a lot down the straight here. Good slipstream. Forces the Ferrari onto the inside line. And then we're going to see Labuse just go a tiny bit too deep. Yeah, just got a bit of a wiggle on. And that is enough for Fredriksson and Schricker to both get past. Back with Warner, the man on the move who started at the back. He's chasing down Burger King and Bromfield as he goes for a nice dive down the inside of the Audi corner. And makes it look easy, but that is not easy. Now he's up into P11 and hunting down Bromfield in the Mustang, looking for the move that Sergei Sebastian tried on lap 1, but actually makes it work. Pushes Bromfield into the wall a little perhaps there. But yeah, somehow managed to squeeze through that gap that... Oh, there's death as well. What happened to Bromfield and Burger King there? We're going to see Bromfield get overtaken by the Honda here. I mean, again, left very little room, just like Czech did at the start. But somehow these two survive. Burger King now just, yeah, I mean, that's just a bit of a bad bump from Burger King. Luckily doesn't completely kill either of them. Here we've got Fredriksson still sat in P3, chasing down the Mustang of Balazs. See how much Fredriksson gains in the corner, especially with that little drift from Balazs there. A little too keen with the throttle. That's going to give Fredriksson the inside line here. Can they make it through here side by side? Balazs goes very wide, trying to make sure he leaves room. I think sent himself on a bit of a terrible line there. And that's enough for Fredriksson to move up into P2. Roland Schricker was not far behind them. He had a great front row seat for this battle. I don't know if he actually managed to nip past Balazs as well, because Balazs, we're going to see, goes very wide. He's kind of scraping his wing mirror along the outside walls there. And Roland Schricker can't quite nip past, but yeah, that was close. Nearly 2 positions lost for Balazs there. And now it's my turn to get overtaken by Chris Warner in the charging Honda. He's gone from, I think it was 28th position, very back of the grid, to... Well, he's P10 now. No, P9 now, sorry. He's about to be P8 once he overtakes me, which he does with relative ease. There wasn't much point fighting that one when somebody's 2 seconds a lap faster than you. So yeah, he's up into P8. And not long after that, he's now chasing down P7 right on the back of Ramsden in the McLaren, who I was battling with earlier. See if he can send it down the inside of the final corner. Or I think he might have just spooked Ramsden into braking a little bit too late there. He did. And now he's going to have the inside line for T1. So it should be another straightforward pass for him. And yeah, after just 10 laps, he is up from dead last to P7. And it did not take him long to catch up with the next guy, Salanaho, in the Mustang, who was chasing the front group earlier, but now finds himself getting overtaken by Chris Warner. Again, I think going to be another pretty academic pass for Warner here, and gets a nice gap down the straight too. So he's up into P6. And we saw Burger King and Bromfield have quite a shunt earlier in the Skyline section. So Burger King will want to be extra cautious here, trying to make his way past Bromfield. He's going to come through the Audi corner, almost side by side here. Bromfield taking a slightly defensive line. It could open the door, but no. Burger King not going to be close enough, as Bromfield goes very wide on the exit. And now they are side by side. This usually does not end well, or Bromfield closes the door quite aggressively there. But yeah, somebody has to do something there, either back out or make a decisive move, because going side by side through that beefy corner just does not usually work. Back with this battle for P3 again, all super close. Labuse, Schricker and Balazs. Somebody's going to make something happen here soon, and Labuse decides the best course of action might just be to pit and leave Roland Schricker to deal with the Mustang of Balazs. Hopefully he's going to save some time in the pits, get some clean air on the outlap, and then jump these guys in the pits. That will be his plan, but we'll see if that works out. As yeah, Roland Schricker is still having to sit behind the Mustang through this whole mountain section. Will be costing him a little bit of time, and that's exactly what Labuse is trying to escape by doing his pit stop now. Not mega early, but yeah, a little bit earlier than most people would have done it. 1 lap later, Roland Schricker is still stuck behind Balazs, going through this same section, but he is now going to have the Honda of Chris Warner to think about, as Roland makes a big old mistake there, getting a bit of a slide on into that corner. And yeah, now he's got Warner right on his ass, which is not what you want. As we know, Warner is the man on a mission as he taps the wall there. I think that's the first tiny mistake we've seen from Chris Warner so far. There's a little brush with the wall. Didn't seem to cost him too much time though. Hopefully he can shrug that off and continue to gain on Roland, as he does seem to gain a lot through that section. Now they come into Skyline. Doesn't look quite as scary looking back here as it does when you're looking forward, but you can see Warner keeping a safe distance. Doesn't want to be right on the bumper of someone here, because then you just can't see what on earth is happening. We'll see if we can do anything down the straight. I'm not sure what the speed difference will be like between the Honda and the Lamborghini down the straight, but I guess we're about to find out. There will be obviously some slipstream in effect here as well, so I think Warner probably, by the end of this straight, will have enough speed to get past it, but we'll see. You see Balazs is actually not too far ahead of these guys. Warner going to have to try and go around the outside here, which will become the inside for the next corner. And if he can actually get that stopped, which he does nicely, then that is another position gained and up into P4. And of course, not far behind P3 already, as we see him right on the back of Balazs straight away. Going to look to the inside, try and spook Balazs into braking a little late, but I think Balazs is going to fall for that. However, he's gaining considerably down this short straight, which is not something I expected. Again, trying to spook Balazs, and I think this time it does actually work. Balazs makes a bit of a mistake, goes wide. But now, with a long straight, surely now the Mustang will do its thing. As they get super close to touching, that must have been like a millimeter between their wheels touching there. And yeah, indeed, the Mustang does start to do its thing. And doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter if you're an esports pro, you can't outdrag a Mustang on a straight, apparently. But luckily for Warner, most of this track is not straight as they're going to head into the mountain section. Balaj covers off the inside, and Warner uses that as an opportunity to do a nice little cutback there. Again, made it look easy, but that is not easy to do. And he now moves up into P3. Very nice move there from him. We saw Labuse head into the pits early to get away from battling Schricker and Balaj. The only problem with that is that now he's got to overtake some of the back markers. Well, not technically back markers, but people that haven't pitted yet. So they will be considerably slower than him. But on this track, very hard to overtake in about half of the track. Like, there's 2 long straights with a couple of good overtaking opportunities, but this whole mountain section can end up costing you a lot of time if you're stuck behind a slower car. So we'll see if Labuse, after having followed Nitro through the entire mountain section, we'll see if he can get past on the straight now. I think these 2 cars fairly equal in terms of acceleration, but I think the Ferrari has a little bit more top end, and with the slipstream as well, you would think he'll be able to get past here. Looks like Labuse is going to go for the inside heading into the chase, which can be pretty bumpy and sketchy and push you out wide, but luckily he's pretty much already passed before they get to that part. So nice move from him past Nitro. Now Schricker has already served his pit stop, and we're waiting to see where Balaj comes out. That is Balaj at the top of the screen. Schricker was stuck behind Balaj before the pits, but it looks like he's jumped him in the pits. And that is too big of a gap for even a Mustang to close down before the next corner, I think. So yeah, the pit stops. Not sure if Balaj just had a slightly slow stop. The cameraman is a bit drunk, apparently. But yeah, Schricker managing to jump Balaj in the pits, and that is going to be pivotal for him. Somebody else who's heading into the pits right now is Chris Warner, the man who's in P3 now. Takes a very fast line into the pits, very fast indeed. Gains on Fredriksson a lot. Fredriksson is the next car on his hit list. Did Fredriksson have some kind of issue? We saw him have an issue at Zandvoort. Oh yeah, it goes onto the grass. Oh yeah, very nearly hits the tyre wall. That could have gone a lot worse, to be honest. He escaped pretty well from that. That does mean, though, that as they exit the pits, Warner is now right behind him. I think he gained about 4 seconds or something there, which is crazy. I think Warner just had a really good pit entry and Fredriksson had a pretty bad one. So we're heading into the first corner after the pits now, and you can see Warner is already right on the back of Fredriksson, pressuring him. Fredriksson having to go onto the defensive line there. And yeah, he's just glued to the rear bumper straight away. Try and force Fredriksson onto an inside line again like he did to Balaj, and then go for the little cutback, but Fredriksson a little wiser to it. Kind of parks his car in the middle of the track there. And now you would think going to have to sit behind him for the entire mountain section. You can see just how much faster he is. It's kind of pushing Fredriksson along, and Fredriksson's a fast driver, so yes, it's very impressive to be bullying the faster drivers like this. You also see Feist is quite far ahead of both of them, so if he does manage to get past Fredriksson, he's going to have a big old job to catch up with Feist by the end of the race. And again, Feist, one of the fastest drivers here. As you see Fredriksson's car wiggling around in the dipper section there. And Warner's staying all over him, but again, not super close to the point where he can't see. Probably going to try and line up a good exit to this corner and then blast past down the straight. We saw him get past a couple of people on this straight already. He's going to sit in the slipstream and gaining pretty quickly already. I mean, I think this is going to be quite an easy overtake for him here. He can get alongside before they even get into the chase, but actually kind of stalls out now once he pops out of the slipstream, so not going to be as straightforward as I thought. I'm going to go side by side again. Very sketchy here. Can he outbrake Fredriksson like he did to a few other people? He kind of can. They go side by side. Nice, close, respectful racing. This obviously will give him the inside line into the final corner, and that's probably going to be where this battle would end. Unless Fredriksson can get a nice cut back. But no, I don't think he's going to be able to. That is, yeah, going to be Warner up into P2 already. If we check back in with how my race is going, I am closing in on the McLaren of Ramsden up ahead. And actually gaining quite a bit there, getting a better exit here. I'm going to run down into the final corner with me tucked right into his bumper. Look to the inside, he covers that off, so I swing back to the outside. Very easy to end up with a wheel on the grass there and ruin yourself. Does cost me a bit though, touching that grass, and the gap opens back up. So I've kind of got all that work to do again now. I'm going to come through T1. Again, you can see a few cars up ahead that haven't pitted yet, or are just back markers in general, as the McLaren bounces over the curb there. And this gives me an even better run than I was going to get originally. Like I said, the Ferrari having a slightly better top speed than the McLaren here, I think. It's going to be just creeping forward slightly. Going around the outside here doesn't really ever work, but we don't make it that far because he gives me a tiny nudge onto the grass, and that is enough to send us both into the wall. Now, he did apologise after the race, said he just misjudged how much space to leave me. And look, these things happen, but it's always frustrating when you're in a much higher position than you normally would be. I was sat in P8 here, about to potentially get P7 if I could manage to get past him. And yeah, I'm normally finishing in like P14, so bit of a shame, but like I said, these things happen. This was Atti's view as he came through here just after that, and you can see Ramsden's car just absolutely destroyed now. But further down the grid in P19 we have Audet chasing down Perez and goes for a mad dive. Managed to outbrake him massively there. Didn't look like that would work, but it did. And now we also see Chris Warner coming to lap these guys as well. We still have Labuse chasing down Fredriksson here for P3. These guys have been together for a lot of the race. We saw Labuse pit early, and I guess managed to jump Schricker and Balazs pretty successfully with the early pit stop. As we see them now all the way up in P4 and Roland Schricker and Balazs down in P5 and 6. Yeah, we'll see if Labuse can do anything here into the chicane after the chase. Getting nice and close here to Fredriksson. Not going to be quite close enough to do anything just yet, though. Although, seem to get a better exit. This could be trouble for Fredriksson into the final corner. Could have probably have to go defensive. He does. We've seen a few people make overtakes work like this by just forcing the other car into the defensive line and doing a bit of a cutback, but not going to happen for Labuse. So, still going to carry on chasing down Fredriksson for now. We will check back in with them shortly. But up at the very front of the field for P1, it didn't take long for Chris Warner to catch up with Feist. I thought this would take a lot longer. Well, there's not too many laps left now, probably only 6 or 7 laps remaining, I would have thought. So yeah, we'll come back to this once he gets a little closer, but seems like we could have a battle for P1 on the last couple of laps. But speaking of getting close, Labuse is now even closer than he was before to Fredriksson. Gonna force Fredriksson onto the inside line to this chicane. We saw Labuse outbrake themselves earlier and kind of mess the exit up, but does a much tidier job of it this time. Fredriksson manages to hold on though. Again, going to have to go defensive into the last corner, but he managed to keep the position last time, and Labuse kind of backs out of it and lets Fredriksson just have the normal line. So yeah, Fredriksson holding on to P3 here. Now we switch back to Warner, who is right on the back of Feist here. And again, there's only like 5 laps to go now, I think. And Warner going to potentially be in a position here to get the slipstream down this back straight. He's not super close here. And the Aston is not bad on the straights, but given how much we've seen him close up on other people, I'm assuming he's running a pretty low downforce setup, and yeah, he's gaining quite a lot already. Again, such a long straight and such a large amount of slipstream that you can gain on almost anyone here. He's going to switch to the outside. We see somebody spin off in front of them. Hopefully that's not going to infect things. It doesn't. Feist managing to hold on for now. Warner probably going to get a better exit though, and again, as we've seen many times, people having to go defensive into this last corner. They're going to go side by side. He's really alongside him now, but going to have to kind of give it up. You can't go around the outside there, so has to give it up. Going to probably get a little bit of a better drive here, and yeah, Feist smart enough to cover that off. Now trying to squeeze back to the other side to give himself a better run through this corner. As we see, Warner has to tap the brakes there to avoid going into the back of Feist. We're going to have a pretty even run down this straight, I would imagine, although the Honda are actually going a little quicker. But as we've seen quite a few times, you can't really go around the outside into this next corner, this right-hander. We'll see if Warner is good enough to actually make that happen. And no, he's not. He just gives it up. Yeah, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can't go around the outside there. So he's going to have to sit behind him for the whole mountain section now, I would have thought. Not really a way through here without forcing someone onto a terrible line as he did with Balazs. But Feist is wise enough to not fall for that. You see, he's looking for moves in places where you can't really make them, but just trying to fill the rear view mirrors of Feist with his car so that he has something to think about. They come through this very fast, very fun section. He's gaining the whole time here. But again, just not really anywhere you can actually overtake, so it doesn't matter too much how fast you are. Although we did see him make some overtakes on the slower cars through there. But I think once you get up to the front runners, there really isn't a way past this whole section. So he's going to have to sit behind for this entire mountain section. Just enjoy the view, enjoy the roller coaster ride. And then try and line up another attack down this back straight. Although not quite as close as he was last time, I don't think. But we saw how much he closed up by the end of the straight, so probably going to be a similar position by the end. And yeah, you can already see him starting to gain a little here. Getting closer and closer. Maybe going to be close enough by the time they get to the chase, but probably not. No. It's going to have to be a kind of mad dive here if he wants to make something happen. Feist goes defensive because he knows that's a possibility. And again, this should give Warner a better exit coming out of the chicane because he's able to cut back a little wider on the exit of that second part. Feist wisely covering off the inside again. Leave just enough room for Warner. A bit of a wiggle, bit of a drift from Feist. That could be it. That could be enough here. Feist still has the inside, but yeah, Honda's smart enough to cover it off. And I think that's going to be it. Feist trying to hold on around the outside. I think that's done. That is P1 for Warner. Let's take another look at that whole sequence, because it started kind of all the way back here, gaining all the way down the straight, forcing him onto a defensive line for this chicane. And Feist did kind of move a little in the braking zone there, but left enough room. And then, yeah, it's just the exit from this is so much nicer for the Honda because of the line he takes. I mean, he wasn't really close enough. Feist could have maybe got away with sticking to the normal line there. Obviously, easy to say in hindsight. But, yeah, he might not have actually had to go defensive there. And then just that little too much throttle while turning on the exit. Obviously trying to gain every little millisecond that he can on the Honda. And, yeah, that was enough to let the Honda through. And then we see Feist go a little wide. Again, trying so hard to keep up with this guy. But eventually falls short and has to concede the position. Now, as we've only got a couple of laps left here, Balaj has still got Salanaho right on his ass. And maybe in his ass there. Because, yeah, he's just been pushed wide, I think. We'll have another look and see if there was actually contact. But it looked like Balaj suddenly got a sudden surge of speed and went too far through the corner. See what we can tell from this point of view. Salanaho right behind Balaj. Balaj in the middle of the track. And yeah, I think maybe a little bump there. It might have been one of those where the Mustang didn't actually kind of feel it, didn't notice it at all. There's been a slight netcode hit. It's not like a full-on contact, but I think there definitely was contact by the way that Balaj wiggles there. So yeah, Balaj probably feeling a bit hard done to by that one. But now approaching the final corner on the final lap is Chris Warner in P1. He's going to just come up behind Nitro. Didn't quite lap Nitro, but yeah, that is the end of the race for him. Goes from literally dead last to P1. Closely followed behind by Feist in P2. Still a very good result, obviously. And in P3, it's Fredriksson. We had quite a hotly contested final step on the podium this race, but Fredriksson is the one that manages to hold on to it. And then in P4, Labuse, who was quite close to Fredriksson most of the time, but ends up in 4th. Then Roland Schricker, who did manage to get past Balaj and also didn't get caught by Salanaho. So strong P5 finish for him. And in P6, it is Salanaho, who we saw have that shunt with Balaj a couple of laps ago, and Balaj finishing just behind him. Then we have Balaj's Hungarian comrade, Ati Nemeth. He finishes in P8. Then we've got Don, who had a very quiet race, I think. We didn't see much of him, but a strong finish for him inside the top 10. He's normally a bit further down than that, so a very good result for him. Somebody else who's obviously very happy about finishing inside the top 10 is Del Rio in this very wiggly Honda. He was closely followed by Davies in the Porsche in P11. And in P12 we have Bromfield in the Mustang. In P13 is another Mustang, this time Botello. And Nitro is going to finish in P14. We saw him get overtaken a few times, but managed to not drop too far down. And then Burger King in P15 after his little shunt with Bromfield earlier on. And Odette in P16. We saw him do that nice overtake on Perez a bit earlier. And speaking of Perez, he is currently battling with Skapash for position on the final lap. They're heading down into the chase. Skapash in the Bentley, looking to the inside. He managed to survive that very treacherous corner. I think Perez maybe braked a little late there. He does indeed, goes onto the grass. And he's going to lose a position on the last couple of corners of the last lap. Always a sad thing to see. But yeah, so contrary to what the screen says at the moment, it is actually Skapash finishing in P17 and then Perez in P18. And we got myself in P19 after that big crash where I had to go back to the garage and repair like 2 minutes of damage, so not much of a surprise there. And someone else who spent a lot of time in the garage repairing damage is Sergei Sebastian after being involved in that big old pile-up on lap 1. He finishes in P20. So let's quickly do driver of the day. I think this one's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's kind of got to go to Warner for starting at the back and overtaking absolutely everybody. I wouldn't normally give it to the person who wins the race because you've kind of already got the biggest prize in the race at that point is winning. So if you win, you shouldn't also get an extra award, I don't think. But in this case, starting from the back, on this sketchy-ass track, not making any real mistakes at all, played it pretty safe, didn't take any crazy risks at the start, but just got past everyone pretty nicely and in a very impressive way. So we're going to give him driver of the day. And there were also a few penalties after the race for this one. Sergei Sebastian got a big penalty for that big pile-up with Czech at the start of the race. And we saw Salanaho go into the back of Balaj. I believe his 5-second penalty was for that. So he actually drops down a position and Balaj moves up one. And then Ramsden got a 10-second penalty for pushing me onto the grass and us both ending up in the wall. So the final thing to do is go through the standings quickly after that round. We can see Fredriksson is still in P1, still leading the championship. Balaj in P2, not too far behind him. He's had quite a few good rounds, including a win at Brands Hatch. Peltari, quite surprised that he is in third place because he's had 2 P9 finishes and missed 2 rounds. But because we have 2 drop rounds, you can miss 2 rounds without it affecting you. Then we've got Heusinkveld in P4, Feist in P5, despite only doing 2 rounds, but he did finish second in both of them. And then Roland Schricker also doing very well considering he's only done 2 rounds. I think if he'd done some more, he would be right up there battling with Fredriksson. Skapash in P7, Del Rio in the Honda, one of the few Hondas, in P8. And then Baby Perchheim still clinging on to P9 despite not doing any of the last 3 rounds. And the final car in the top 10 is Mandel. But yeah, I will leave the rest of the standings up on screen if you want to take a look at them. There might not be one of these videos next week because I'm very busy next week and I don't know if I'm going to have time to edit the video. I've done the race already, it was Silverstone. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have time to actually edit the video because believe it or not, these videos take a long ass time to make. They probably don't seem like it, but yeah, these take like 4 days to make. And I don't think I'm going to have that much free time next week. But we will see. We will see. Now he has got to try and attack Bromfield. No, that's not Bromfield. Who the fuck is that? It's Barnes. Sorry, Barnes.